Okay. Can one of you quickly give me a brief on what we discussed yesterday?
Manoj, yesterday we discussed about the various methods of installing the client, Sccm client. A couple of them were the group policy, manual push, scripts, uh, and I'm just missing out one or two of them. Then we also looked into the process through Sccm, how this could be pushed. One is the Sccm client push, and the other one was Sccm
Site-wide
push,
line push, yeah.
site-wide push method.
Mm-hmm.
So how we looked into how the configurations can be done on each individual methods, and this was in brief about the client push.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for summing it up. So yes, so yesterday we have discussed on the client installation part, right? So different deployment methods and yeah, specifically which are required, uh, which are very much relevant to SCCM, right? So that we have focused more, like you said, the client push wizard and also site-wide client push. Then we have looked into the client settings, which are related to machine policy, right? 60 minutes, and then the state messaging for every 15 minutes, and also the computer restart 90 minutes and the temporary restart of 15 minutes, right? So those are some of the settings that we have looked into from the SCM console, right, guys? So where are we as of today? So we have the lab built, we have SCM console, SCM integrated with Active Directory, and after that, all the we have done the discovery. We have enabled the discovery so that anything which is added new in Active Directory is going to be automatically discovered in SCCM, right? So after that, we have created the boundaries, and finally, we have installed client agents on those machines which are discovered, right? So now we are in a position to manage these clients, right? Because now you have client agent on the end user device. So the first thing we wanted to check is the basic one, inventory management, right? So we wanted to manage the inventory of these discovered devices, or the devices where you have client agent installed, right? So let's start with that. So before we get into how to manage inventory and other stuff, so first of all, let's learn step by step. So what is inventory? Typically, what is that you call as inventory? Any one of you?
Mm, the assets which are there within the environment, it could be any asset,
Mm-hmm.
laptop, desktop, printers, and the one which we are trying to record uh, or, or report it.
Okay. Okay. So assets. So is the asset called as inventory, or some information from the assets is called as inventory data?
The information from the
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
So
also which shows non-valid, valid, approved, non-approved, all the learned details also for the from the system.
okay.
Also.
So assets info and information. And Manju, you're saying like
Like some company approved software details, all hardware
mhm.
and software related information.
Yeah, software details and hardware information. Okay. So you have a fair idea about inventory, right? So software details where, as Manju said, like what are the applications installed, okay, whether they are licensed or not, that information. And hardware information could be something like your operating system, RAM, processor, right, your NIC cards, logical disks, right, all that information. Comes under hardware inventory. Okay, now we know what is inventory. How do you collect this inventory if not SCM?
There will be some third-party tools from that way. It's just to running individual machines or from the over network, so people will run it. So most easier way, the people will do it like that.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Good morning, Anil. Can you hear
Yeah,
us?
good morning, Manoj. Yeah,
Okay, okay. No problem. We just started. We till now we were discussing about the previous class and other lab things. We just started with inventory management. So
okay.
the first question was what is inventory? So anything related to the assets information, software details, and hardware information. So this is what Neil and Manju summarized. And now how do you collect inventory? So Manju says that we use scripts or third-party tools, right? Anything else? How do you collect
I
inventory?
find,
Hmm.
yeah, this one I think most probably via server, they will, if there are any options, they will do it, or third-party tool only they will establish over a network that like via as an automated script. Uh, some some way they will utilize it from the server end.
Hmm. Hmm. So you're telling me that from the server end, they will either run scripts or if there is any configuration that can be done from the server end, or if there are any third-party tools, they'll run and collect the inventory. Fine. Okay. If you have to manually collect the inventory,
Then we will have to run uh, the manual software inside the machine or system information.
no, no,
There are some
there is no software. I'm talking about manually. If you have to collect, how do you collect it? If I ask you like, what are the softwares installed on a machine? What do you do? Where do you go?
Control
from the
panel.
uh, yeah from the program files.
So you go to the add remove programs, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Say suppose if I ask you like what is the RAM, so where do you go? If I want to get the details of processor, where do you go?
If I go to a system information, all the detail I will get.
This info.
Okay, you go to sysinfo, and if I have to write it in technical terms, this is appwiz.cpl, the add remove programs dot.
Yeah, app is
Mhm.
that is a add remove programs.
Okay. So anything else from anywhere else you get this information? You get it from add remove programs. You get it from sysinfo.
From
Any other place?
BIOS, from BIOS.
Okay, few things can be there in BIOS, yes. Okay,
Most of we will get it from system info only, system information.
okay.
It will
So
say
system
over
info.
the hardware and peripheral and software. Software, not probably all, but most of few.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so now wonderful. This part is wonderful and it's going good. Now, if you have to automate it, okay, my question here is if you want to automate it, say suppose you want to write a script. Add remove programs, the information which is in add remove programs is a display only information. The information which is in sysinfo is a display only information. Now, how are you going to write a script to query this add remove programs or query sysinfo? So if you have to write a script, where do you go? Is it still add remove or sysinfo, or do you have some other places where you have this information? To
WMI.
perfect, and there's one more, WMI and one more. If you know WMI, then you must have already come across the other one, which is the most commonly used and many people know about it. Can I say registry?
Okay, yeah.
Right? WMI and registry. So how many of you are familiar with WMI and registries?
I'm
Or
not
the other way? Or the other way?
aware.
Sorry?
I'm not aware about the WMI. Maybe I heard or I may not have. But okay, I'm aware about the website. Only WMI must be. If it is a tool, I'm not sure what.
Okay, okay, I'll explain about that. Sai?
Yeah, registries I know, but WMI I'm not familiar.
Okay. Anili, is it the same case with you or are you aware of WMI?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, same.
Okay. So, Amar, will you just explain or just give a brief on what WMA is?
So basically, WMI is Windows Management Instrumentation, and these are like a set of specifications which which has the information of all the devices and applications in the network, and this is how any scripts what we write, we use the WMI to capture all the information. And most of the third-party inventory tools are looking into the WMI itself. It tries to capture most of the information through a WMI.
Perfect.
So is it a tool or any service or any
It is
program which
basically
you will have?
it is a service. It's just a service.
Okay, okay, okay. I saw it is available in services. It will I am aware, but I am not sure how that
Yeah,
will
it's
happen.
by
Thank
default installed the operating system.
okay. Thank you, thank you. Let me. I will check it.
Perfect. Perfect. Good guess. So yes, WMI is Windows Management Instrumentation. It comes default with every operating system, right? So as Ahmad just said, rightly said, it's a service, and if I have to show it to you and correlate it with something else, how many of you are aware of SQL at the base level? Like what will be there in SQL, like database and tables, rows, columns. I hope everybody is aware of that part, right? That there is a database. SQL means there will be a database. Then inside the database there will be tables. Then inside the table there will be rows and columns. Is everyone aware of this part,
Yeah, Manoj.
right?
Yes.
So let me take
Yes.
from there. If you're aware of SQL, then let's take it from there. So SQL, we all know there is a database, and then you have inside database you will have tables, or you can call them, you will also have views. Okay, then inside that you have different columns and you have rows, right? So basically what will be there is, say suppose in a database if there is a table or a view. So let me take a real-time example here. SQL Management Studio. So basically in database, all you have is data, you have information, and that information is organized, right? It is organized into tables, it is organized into within the tables into rows and columns. So what will you have in columns and what will you have in rows? If you are talking about any table in database, what is there in column and what is there in the row? See, I'm connecting to the database.
So the column will have all the headers, and the rows will have the results of those queries.
Yes. So can I call as columns as some properties and rows as the actual values of those properties,
Yeah.
right? So here I'm going to the database. Inside database, so this is the database, right? CM underscore May is our database. Inside the database, we have tables and views. So suppose I go into a view, okay, and I take any one of those, like v underscore add remove programs, right? So this is a view. Now when I query this view, so So when I query this view, all I get is rows and columns. Are you all able to see my screen? Do you see the results?
Yes.
Okay. So as you can see, the columns are resource ID, group ID, revision ID, agent ID, timestamp, right? The product ID, and if you go further, you'll have what is the application name, the display name, when is it installed, and who is the publisher of that application, and what is the version of the application. So the version, the publisher, application name, install date, all these are properties, different properties, right? And what are the values of those properties for individual machines? So these are the values. Like on one machine there is VC++ 2013, on the same machine you have Silverlight, on another machine you have Configuration Manager Client, right? These are the different values, right? The column says the values, and you have here attributes, or you have the properties. Now, if you want to correlate the same thing with WMI, so SQL is nothing but structured query language, right? So similarly, WMA also has something called WMA's query language is also there. So under that, if you go, you will have a namespace. Okay, then you have classes, and you have properties and values. You can have properties or attributes, right? So when you go to WMI, so you'll find a similar kind of structure. So you can correlate this now. There is something called namespace, which is similar to your database. Just like your table, there is a class. Under that, just like you have columns, you have properties. And for each property, there is a value, just like you have rows. Make sense? Now you understand what is WMI. Now let's see that. Not just understanding it, let's see it. So if I go to this machine, and I go here and say WBEM test. That is how you access WMI, WBEM test, right? So now this is Windows Management Instrumentation Tester, your WMI tester, right? You connect, right? So the namespace I'm connecting is root/CMV2. So just like your CM_May, here it's root/CMV2 is your namespace. So I connected to my namespace, right? So if I enumerate classes, so all these are different classes, just like how you are able to see all the different views on the left side. Here underneath this, all these are different classes. It's a bit slow today, I don't know why. Right? Say suppose out of this I pick any one Win32 computer system. Okay, so this is one of the class I'm selecting here, and when I open the class, all I have is properties. Like in this properties, it talks about who is the manufacturer, right? What is a model and all that, right? I have this, and then I have values to it. For each property, there will be a value. Okay, currently it is null, so there will be a value for each manufacturer model, and for each of these properties, you have values. So like this, WMI is again another database, just like your SQL database. WMI is also another database wherein you have all information related to that specific device, that computer, like your, we are talking about software, we are talking about the hardware information. So all that information is stored there. And when you're talking about add remove programs, or when you're talking about sysinfo, basically they are a nice GUIs for the end user to see, right? They're good GUIs for the end users to understand what are the application installed, and if he wants to uninstall it or repair it, or similarly if he wants to look into his logical disk space and all that, those are nice kind of representations. But in the background, this is how the data looks like. Now, when we are writing any script, or Manju, as you said, any third-party tool from the server, when they run against this WMI, and they get the information from the computer. That's how we are all getting the inventory. for that matter, any third-party tool or any even SCCM, right, or any script, they are going to connect to your WMI and get the information. Right, guys? So there will be certain information which is also available in registry. So sometimes what we do for some such certain data, if that is not available from the WMI, for example, whether USB is restricted on these devices or not, maybe that is not there as part of WMI, but we all know that our USB sticks are restricted on our laptops in corporates, right? In our companies, USB is restricted, and you can check that from a registry. Either that registry is 1 or 0. Based on that, your USB is enabled or disabled, right? There are certain registry files which will also give some part of hardware information, right? Some settings information. So if you want to know any settings information, you'll go to your registry to fetch that. If you want to know some hardware related info or software related info, you go to WMI. Guys, is WMI clear for everyone now, or do you have any questions? Manju?
Uh, that that script where it how it will be added here. Can if it is a quick, we can just
No,
do
no. Script part.
and without.
No, Manju, keep the script part aside. See, the point here is, see, whether you're using script or third-party tool, any other thing, they're going to query your WMI. And I wanted to tell you what is there within WMI, right? Now, we are not getting into how to write a script or how to get the inventory from a script. We are going to learn how SCCM is going to query this WMI and how is it going to get the inventory for us, right? Script
Okay.
is not the primary motor for us.
Okay.
Okay. Sai and Anil, is this part clear for you?
Yes, Nima.
Yes.
Good. Let's proceed further then. Let me close. So back to our favorite notepad. Okay. So you guys told me how do you collect inventory? You told from scripts, third-party tools you can do, or if you're doing manual, this is how you get it. If you want to automate it, yes, from WMI and registry, that's how you get that, right? So now we know what is inventory, how do you collect inventory, and you know, uh, now I'll ask you one more question before I actually show it to you. Why do you need to collect inventory?
For compliance purpose, for compliance and non-compliance purpose. When audit kind of things will happen.
Okay,
That comes to a picture.
you want to audit your compliance, audit purpose or compliance purpose, okay?
For the
And
transformation project.
for a transformation project, is it?
Yeah, like operating system, if you want to change from one operating system to the other, you have to have to collect the inventory.
Okay, so you're saying that when you're migrating or when you're transforming from, okay, so one operating system to another operating system, or for that matter, any other migration projects, not only just operating systems, think about
Yeah,
you're migrating. Yeah, perfect. If you're migrating from an application, like there is a big application like a SAP, and SAP is on 7.3 and you're moving to the latest version. So you wanted to know whether this application can be installed on the machine, the new application can be installed on these machines or not. For your planning, it will help you, right? Like whether what is the RAM of these machines, or what is the space available, what is the processor, right? So planning the migrations, planning transformations or migrations, right? Any other? Anything else comes into your mind, guys?
also to standardize the environment.
Okay, so standardize and can you give me any example, like how do you, what do you mean by standardizing environment? How do you do that?
So out of 10,000 devices, if 5,000 devices have Internet Explorer 8 version and another 5,000 have got version 11, the company standard says that it has to be on Internet Explorer 11. So the rest 5,000 devices which have on version 8 can be migrated to version 11 and
Hmm.
standardize it.
Hmm.
Likewise
So
for any other applications. operating system.
Yep, it completely makes sense to me. So basically, by collecting this inventory, you wanted to know where are you standing right now, okay, and where do you want to go. So in future, if you wanted to migrate everybody to, as you said, the compliance or the standard is like move to IE11 or maybe to Edge. So you'll see where we are standing today and how many machines needs to be upgraded to the future state where we want it to be, right?
Right.
So yep, so for standardizing it helps, and planning transformation migrations, and also like for audit purpose or compliance purpose, right? So my main motto behind asking these questions like what, how and why is that's when interest develops within you, right? Now you know why we are going through this session, what is the benefit of this session, right? Now you have your mind is clear that whatever we are going to do today in this class is to to collect the inventory, and we know the purpose of collecting that inventory. After that, what we wanted to do out of this inventory, right? So when you say audit or compliance and planning the migrations, or you wanted to standardize, so basically you're talking about you want to get some reports out of this, right? That's how once you have a report in your hand, once you have the data in a report format, that's when you will be in a position to plan, right? Whether the report can be in your HTML format or Excel, whatever. So finally, out of this inventory, you wanted to get some reports out of it, right? Not just reports. So I'll add one more point to here. Apart from standardizing, um, what you can also do is manage, I would say. And how do you manage? My point here by when I say manage is, say suppose as you said you have IE8 5,000 machines and some IE11 another 10,000 machines. Now you wanted to put all these IE8 machines into a specific collection and target installing IE11 on top of it. Or let's take some other example, like if you have application like Adobe Reader, okay. Adobe Reader, if you go to any company, you'll still find legacy versions, like people still using 7. There will be people who are using 8, 9, 10, 11. So there will be multiple versions of Adobe Reader when you are talking about a bigger company, right? So when you do your inventory, you'll find people are using still 7. There are people using 8, 9, 10, 11. Multiple versions will be there. You want to standardize there. So how do you standardize? Not just getting an inventory report, right? So what is the action that you perform? So maybe I can call something like you'll create a collection, right? Collection is a group, right? Just like your Active Directory group, collection is a group in Sccm. So you create a group or a collection, and in that collection, you'll put all these machines which has Adobe Reader 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? Now you have a bunch of them where 7, 8, 9, 10 are there. Now on this machine, you say install Adobe Reader 11. So this way, the inventory information which you're getting is also helping you in organizing them, in managing them, right, into collections, and then take an appropriate action against them. Like, okay, these are the machines which are on 7, 8, 9, 10, install 11 on them. So that now I am standardized. All of my machines have 11 across. Make sense? So we are using this data not only just to get the fancy reports, but also that data, inventory data, is also helpful in building collections. Do you all agree with me?
Uh, Manohar, I've just got a query. I know it will be covered at a later stage.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we are discussing about that collection part, I just had a query. We have something called as all computers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we then create a collection and put all these devices into that particular collection. Now, is it that if I delete the collection, does the asset information gets deleted, or it's just a reflection of all the computers, like
Mm-hmm.
specific computers?
I got your question. I got your question. So for others, okay, don't get confused because we haven't gone that far. But just to answer Amar's question, like just relate it with Active Directory group buddy. So in AD, you
Okay.
have computers and users, okay, and you have grouped them into different groups. Like you must be having one computer in 10 different groups. If you delete one of those
Right.
groups, is it affecting your computer account?
No.
Same goes here,
Okay. Okay.
right? Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you're deleting one group, it is not going to affect. Even if you delete all the 10 groups, it is not going to affect anything to the computer as such. The computer details, everything will still be there. The computer attributes still be there in the Active Directory, even though you're deleting all those groups, right? Similarly, here also a computer can be part of 100 different collections, and if you're deleting all the 100 collections or even one of those collection, nothing is going to impact for the computer. As long as you don't delete that computer record, the information is still intact. Okay. So fine. So now we know about this. Why do we collect inventory and what is it finally we wanted? Cool. Let's go to our SCCM and find out how do we do that today. So yesterday we discussed about something called client settings, right? And also on the client machine, I've shown something to you under the client agent, something called hardware inventory cycle, right guys? We go to the control panel. Okay. So hardware inventory cycle. And when what you can do is you can either run that hardware inventory cycle from a client machine, or by default it is set to run once in 7 days, right? So these are the default client settings which gets applied to your client machines and user client machines. And if you go to the hardware inventory part, so enable hardware inventory on clients, yes. Hardware inventory schedule, so by default it runs once in 7 days, right? So you have a simple schedule and a custom schedule. So let's start from here. So hardware inventory from, we are collecting this from, wait a minute, right? So hardware inventory, we are we wanted to go through it from the Sccm client settings. So you see here there's a simple schedule and a complex custom schedule, right? So in a simple schedule, so what's happening here is it runs once in 7 days. So how does this work? Now say suppose if you have triggered, if you have selected simple schedule, I'm asking you a question like if you have 10,000 machines in your environment and you know they all run once in 7 days. So does that mean that on every Monday, for example, what is the time set here? Like starting from 1970, whatever the date, so 12 a.m. So does this mean that every week on a particular day, let's say suppose Monday at 12 a.m., all these 10,000 machines are going to send their inventory data to SCCM server? Are they all going to send the SCM server hardware inventory once in a week, so at the same time or different timings? Amar?
I think it's on a different time, not on the same time. If I'm not wrong. I'm just guessing this one.
Hmm. But here we are telling it like run once in 7 days. So how is it going to understand from where it has to trigger that once in 7 days part, right? Because we are telling that just 12 a.m. on all the machines and 7 days. That's how we have set it. So how is it going to identify? So basically, what will happen is the moment a client agent is installed for the very first time, automatically hardware inventory will run for the first time. Not only hardware inventory, every other cycle. So the moment client agent is installed for the very first time on a machine, all the cycles will run and they all will send their respective data back to SCM server. So from that moment, whenever it runs, it will be keep on triggering once in 7 days right from that moment. So now what will happen? Not all the machines will get client agent at the same time, right? So one machine will get client agent today morning, other one might get some 5 minutes later, and other one might get 30 minutes later, or maybe by evening some of the machines will get client agent. So I'm talking about the first time when you're triggering, first time when you have installed client agents on all these machines, right? So when you are installing client agents on all these machines, based on the time when you have installed the client agent, from then the 7 days will trigger. So because of this, what will happen? Different machines will be sending the hardware inventory data back to the server at different timings, which will save your bandwidth. It will not allow your bandwidth to choke, and also it will save the performance of the management point. If it is getting all this data at a time for all the 10,000 machines or 1 lakh machines, it is going to not only choke the bandwidth but also affect your performance, since they will be sending throughout the day at different timings based on their installation time, client agent installation time, right? So that's how, first of all, the hardware inventory is sent back to the server. Now, you have an option from the client agent to click run now, right? So what will happen when you're breaking that cycle? Say suppose today morning it has run, okay? Today morning, today's Tuesday morning, it has run at 9 o'clock, and it is supposed to run every Tuesday morning 9 o'clock. Now Tuesday evening 5 o'clock you have run that, you went to the client machine, you are doing some kind of troubleshooting, and you went to the client agent and you click run now, right? From here you click run now, right? So what will happen if you are clicking from the Windows 7 machine to the end user machine, clicking it? So it is breaking that cycle, and next time it will send every Tuesday evening 5 o'clock. So whenever you break this cycle, it will take that as the starting point, and from there it will be sending for every 1 week, whatever the schedule you have set. If it is not every 1 week, if you have set it to every 1 day, so every day evening 5 o'clock it will be keep on sending it. So based on the cycle, and whenever you break the cycle, so that is going to be your starting point, and that's how a simple schedule will work. Guys, any questions here, or is it clear? Okay, I guess it's clear. Amar, you were able to ask something? I see you were
No, no,
unable
I
to.
just wanted to say I'm clear.
Perfect. So that's a simple schedule, right? Now what's a custom schedule then? So if I want to go to customize, so it has a specific time, right? And it has a, you have this UTC thing, right? Means you can give, like, instead of the client time, you can say that, okay, standard time, like at UTC 6:54 a.m. on so and so date, starting on so and so date, every 7 days it has to run. So what will happen? Every day that single machine will be sending at 6:54 a.m. only, right? So if you are putting a custom schedule, even if you're breaking it from your hardware inventory, even if you're breaking it run now, because it has a custom schedule, it will run exactly on that particular time on that particular day every single time. So even though you run it now, that doesn't matter. So that is called custom schedule. And when do you need this custom schedule? Say suppose you have a report, you need to submit a report to your leadership management on every Monday morning. Okay, so before that, on a Friday evening you wanted to run this inventory, okay, so that you get the latest information, or maybe on a Saturday or Sunday evening you wanted to run this information so that the Monday morning reports are refreshed with the latest data, right? So in that case you don't want to break this cycle. Even if somebody clicks on run now, or different machines are getting a client agents installed at different times, you don't want to get this inventory at different times, so that the Monday morning report, what your leadership management wants to look at, will not have the accurate data. Still, some of the machines might have got the latest hardware inventory, some of might have got the old hardware inventory, right? You don't want that. You want all of them to give the latest hardware inventory by Monday morning. So you set a custom schedule saying that on Sunday evening I want to run this. Okay. Now the question arises here. So if you do this way, hardware inventory, and the moment I give any timing here as a custom schedule, will it not affect the entire machine, all the machines? Because I don't have an option to select only 5 machines or 10 machines, right? So will it not have impact the entire infrastructure? That means all the 10,000 machines or 1 lakh machines that you have in your environment, all of them are running at 6:54 a.m. or at a particular date, a particular time, and sending the hardware inventory. Is it not going to impact the performance? Yes, it is going to impact the performance. Then how are you going to handle it? Right? When you have to give custom schedules, or when you have to make any changes, for that matter, any one of these settings, if you're making any changes to it, and your intention is not to make the changes to entire 1 lakh clients. It is only to specific number of machines, only to 5 machines, 10 machines. For a specific reason you are running, you are making changes. Then what you can always do is you can create your own client device settings. So the default client settings, this is the default one. But say suppose if I want to just make hardware inventory, and I'll mention that this is hardware inventory for specific servers. Okay, I'll create a name for that, and now I have this hardware inventory, and here instead of this schedule I put as custom schedule. Okay, I put whatever the timing I wanted it this to run. And now since this is a custom thing that I've created, I can deploy it only to a specific collection. Instead of all systems, I'll create my own collection saying that for specific collection, and in that collection I'll put only those 4 or 5 devices, and I'll target that device, that collection. So now what will happen? By default, everyone will have this, but only for those 5 devices or 10 devices which are in that particular collection, they will have hardware inventory running on a particular custom schedule. Guys, makes sense? Is this easier to understand?
Manumar, just a query here. So usually the inventory is been done on all the devices. So how do we, because you said if we make custom settings, then it's only for few devices, but if it's for all the devices, the inventory has to be taken.
Okay. Before
Then how do we go?
I got your question. So before I answer that, just give me 1 minute. I'm low on power. Let me connect my power thing adapter. Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I got your question. So your point here is like we need to get inventory for all the machines. So if you're creating a custom hardware inventory, so how will we get that information, right? So basically what I'm saying here is the default client settings has the highest priority. It is still there. As you can see the right side, the priority, it is still there. So all the machines will still get the hardware inventory at whatever the time set. Like if it is a simple schedule, it has to get the information once in a week. And if somebody is making any changes to it by running now or whatever, so it will be still getting that different timings. You will be still getting all the inventory for 9,900 machines that you have. For 100 machines, what you wanted is these 100 machines you wanted to have a report, because when you're running a report, you're not running a report for all the machines. There is a specific reason why you wanted that report for your leadership management to get a particular information on every Monday morning, right? So when it is very specific to a specific devices, so what you will do for only for those devices, those 100 machines, you are putting them into a collection, and you are making a change in the hardware inventory settings saying that it has to run like on a particular timing, right? And you are targeting to those machines, right, buddy? So now what's happening is only for those particular devices you are getting it in a custom schedule, but for all the 9,900 you are still getting the inventory. It's not that you're not getting inventory, you're getting the inventory but at different timings. For these 100 machines you are getting at a specific timing. That's the only change here.
Okay. Okay. Because the
I
default
still I still
client.
see you're in doubt.
Yeah, because the client settings will have different time zones, right? It won't have an accurate, up-to-date data since it's been installed on different time. And the purpose of creating it is only to sync all the data and have the accurate data by capturing the latest information, latest up-to-date information. So just the 100 devices and the rest of them are going on different times, uh, mm, still the data is not up to date then, right?
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay. So
and if I want to use everything, then I'm utilizing the bandwidth.
yep, yep, yep. So let me give you an example for this. Say suppose you have 100 machines, okay, and for these 100 machines, so by default you have a simple schedule, okay, and if you are putting this simple schedule to run once in 7 days, right, and there are another 10 machines wherein you have a custom schedule run once in 7 days. Even this is run once in 7 days. However, you have a custom schedule to run at a specific time. Now, the only advantage what we are getting from a simple schedule to a custom schedule, what is the advantage that we are getting? If you have any specific devices that you want to get a report of, for which you wanted the accurate data. So even the 100 machines are also giving an accurate data. But the only thing is, say suppose if it has run on a Monday morning, right? On this, it must have run on Monday morning for few machines. On Tuesday, there must be few other machines, right? So let me just take an example, like on 30 machines it ran on Monday, on 30 machines it ran on Tuesday, and on Sunday it ran on 30 other machines. Now on the next Monday you're pulling a report, right? On the next Monday you're pulling a report. So when you're pulling the report for these 40 machines, right? Whatever the information that you're getting is as of Sunday, as of yesterday. But for other machines, it is as of Tuesday or as of Monday. That's the information you're getting on Monday. If you're okay with that kind of information, like 1 week back's inventory, if you're okay with that, you don't even need this custom schedule, right? If you're not okay with this 1 week delay, you still have an option to change this in the simple schedule itself to 1 day, like every single day. So every machine will be sending that data on Sunday itself, because every single day it is sending the hardware inventory. But however, on a Sunday they might not be sending all at the same time, maybe some in the Sunday morning, some Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. But the particular information what you get on Monday morning is of Sundays morning or if, afternoon or evening, but you definitely have the information from Sunday, right? So you can have that, make this aggressive, the simple schedule itself to run once in every single day if you want the hardware inventory so accurate, right? Otherwise, what I'm saying is, if it is only for a specific bunch of machines that you want the hardware inventory accurate, not for all the machines, because say suppose you're doing a migration of SAP devices, right? As we discussed, there are SAP, you are on 7.3 and you wanted to migrate to SAP, I don't know what is the latest version, some X, right? So when you are trying to migrate from 7.3 to X, you wanted to get a report saying that how many of them have 7.3 installed and how many of them have X installed. Okay, so a program is already going, a migration project is already running. So your leadership team gets a report. In that report, it will show, okay, currently SAP 7.3. How many machines are there? How many machines are moved to SAP X? So what is the progress of the project? The progress of the project is 7.3. There are 100 machines are in 7.3 and SAP X some 50 machines are moved. So still we need to move these 100 machines to SAP X, right? So that's how you get a progress there, saying that 100 machines are still on 7.3. 50 machines are moved to SAPEX and still we wanted to move the others 100 machines to SAPEX. So every Monday he will be, say suppose every morning or every Monday he will be checking that report to see how many machines are moved with to the latest SAP version. So that is only for SAP installed devices. You will not, you don't need inventory for the servers for this. You don't need inventory for other machines which do not have SAP installed. So in this particular report, in this particular scenario, it is only for some 100 devices or 150 devices that you need this information. So only for those 150 devices where SAP is installed or which are targeted for SAP, you'll create a custom schedule and say that run once in 1 day. Every day I want you to run at a specific time, so that the moment report is run, we get the latest information whether the applications are installed or not. So there is a specific reason why you go for a custom schedule. Then the target is also specific. There is a specific audience, right? Unless or otherwise you want it for every bit of inventory you typically in any organization, for every bit of inventory they don't want it so aggressive. There is a specific project which is running where they wanted it. That's when you go for custom schedule.
Got it.
Got it? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So if everyone else is also clear, I'll move ahead. Sai, you are the one who asked me questions very rarely, so I always have this doubt. Am I able to reach you?
Yeah, Manu.
Means you're getting the concept, or if it is
Yes, yes,
okay, okay,
yes. I still have some questions after the class.
okay, okay. So if you think those questions can help others also to learn, try asking those questions during the class, so that, see, now I'm gonna ask this question, so I've explained this. Maybe if you have this in your mind, it must have sorted some level of confusion to you, right? So if you have any questions, just keep asking so that it will help even the other students.
Yeah, sure, man. But this is regarding studies class. That's the reason I was stopped.
Okay, okay,
So I will ask you in the after the
uh,
class.
okay, 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 fine. So we've discussed about simple schedule and custom schedule. Now you know about the simple and custom schedule, and go back to the properties, hardware inventory, right? So this is done, this is done. And now let us see how a default inventory is getting captured, right? So let's go step by step. Like let me go to this client machine, right? If I go to WBM test and I'll write a query, select star from Win32 computer system. You don't need to know these queries, buddy. This is just a WMI knowledge. This is nothing related to SCM. So when I click here, Win32 computer system, see you have some values like admin password status, automatic managed by paste file and everything, right? And apart from that, see it has the caption, right? The which is the computer name. Then you have the wait a minute, let me show you the domain to which it is joined, right? And by the end, see you have the manufacturer and model. So in this case it says Microsoft Corporation and virtual, because it's a VM. If you run the same query in your machine, you'll get whatever is your model, like Dell and what is the model name, or HP and what is the model name, right? So you have this information here. Now I wanted to see if this information is getting copied into my SQL database, right? This information has to be captured as part of SQL database, and I should be able to pull this information from Sccm, right? What are the different ways of pulling this information from SCM, right? Now if I go back to SQL, step by step, let's go one step at a time, and let me close this. I'm at cm underscore main. So if I write a new query, select star from view gs, and you should have the same thing like computer system. You have the computer system, gs underscore computer system. When you execute the query, right, if you see, you'll have the similar kind of attributes or the columns here. Admin password state 0, and you see at my client machine, let me put both of them side by side. Admin's password status 0, right? So, or status 0, or forget about the last letter, which is 0. So admin password status, you have it here, right? Then you have automatic reset boot option, right? You'll have this automatic reset boot option, right? So most of the things what you find there, you'll find the same things here: automatic reset capability, the boot option on limit. And similarly, if you go to the manufacturer and model here, you want to get this information, manufacturer model. So So the manufacturer is Microsoft Corporation, model is virtual machine. That's what you have here, Microsoft Corporation. And so this is my client machine. The one which is on my right is my client machine. And this is my server, SCCM servers database. Now what's happening here is on my client machine, the data which is in my WMI, as because we have this hardware inventory cycle which is running once in a week, it has captured this information from my WMI, right, and has put this information into my database. Right now the information is available in SCCM database. Not only just in the database, since it is in the database, what you can do is when you click on the particular computer devices and click on any one of these machines, the Mate S01 machine, and start Resource Explorer, you'll find the same information, computer system. You'll have the same information here as well, again, manufacturer and model. So the information which is in database, I'm able to see the information from my console as well, right? And now, not just seeing it in the console, I can use this information, like I can also create a report, or I can look at the default report, but currently we haven't enabled the reporting service point yet. So reporting is at the last. So even if you go to administration, sorry, monitoring, and go to reports, you don't find any reports here. Only once we install the reporting piece, right? That's when you'll find those 200 built-in reports. So right now there are no reports, but once we install the reporting part, we'll be able to see the same results even from SCCM reports, the default reports, right? And I told we can also use this in the collections, right? So I will also get into the collection and I'll explain it to you. So till now we haven't created any collections, right? So let's create a collection here. So if I'm going to device collection, create a device collection. So are you all aware of collection? By now, have you got any idea about collection? I'm sure Amar and Sai must have looked at collections earlier because they have worked on the lab. Anil and Manju?
Maybe you can start it as a fresh.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so I'm taking a collection. As I told, collection is nothing but an Active Directory. You can relate it to a Active Directory group, right? So here, I'm just giving a collection. I wanted to have all VMs, all virtual machines. I want it to be part of this collection. So limiting collection, so comment is your description, forget about that. Limiting collection, what is a limiting collection? So limiting collection is something like you are giving a scope to it, right? So what you are telling is when you are writing this collection, make sure that this collection is a sub collection of something else. You are making it as a sub collection or a sub folder of something else. Why? Because say suppose here if you write a query, okay, and because of that if some hundreds of machines comes into this collection, that is going to be a problem. Maybe sometimes unintentionally you have written a query, but you're not aware that what and all information it will get. Sometimes unintentionally because of something that you have written in query, you're getting more than what you actually thought, right? So to limit it, what you'll do is you'll put a collection on top of it saying that, okay, my limiting collection is, let me put it here in theoretical. So say suppose there is a collection called servers, okay, and then there is a collection called client machines, right? Now you are creating your own new collection. So the idea behind, what is the idea behind creating this collection? Let's go with the idea. The idea behind this creating this collection is you want all client machines which are 64-bit. Say suppose this is your idea behind creating a collection. Now you will write a query saying that any machine which is whose architecture is 64-bit should be part of this collection, right? So you forgot to mention whether they're client or server. Your query doesn't have the information whether it is a client or server. Then what will happen is if you don't have a limiting collection, you are expecting that you'll get all client machines which are 64-bit, but your query, SQL query, what you have written here, say suppose it is getting all machines which are 64-bit. Okay, so because of this, what will happen? Now your collection has all machines. Now the all machines includes both clients and servers. you have all of them as part of your new collection, and you're targeting some application which is a 64-bit application, right? Because of this, what will happen is, since instead of getting all client machines which are 64-bit, now you have all machines which are 64-bit, and you're targeting the 64-bit application even on servers. So that is not the intention, right? So what you will do to safeguard that, when you're creating a new collection, you'll also put a limiting collection to it. You'll say the limiting collection is client machines collection, the collection you created here, right? Client machines. So that is the limiting collection. Now what will happen, this query whatever you put here, it will run against this limiting collection only. So only the machines which are under limiting collections, under that collection which are 64-bit, that will be added to the new collection. So this way what's happening, instead of getting servers, now you have only the client machines which are running 64-bit, and those are only the part of new collection. So that's the importance of limiting collection. If you don't have a limiting collection, what will happen? You'll get every single device. So if you limit it, only you can scope it, only the machines that you require. Make sense? Guys, do you have any questions here? Sorry, am I audible?
Uh, yes,
Yes, ma'am.
we are seeing how practical it works.
Okay, I'll show that. So first of all, try to understand the theory part, then definitely we'll go into the practical thing. So for example, if I'm clicking browse here, and here I'm selecting all systems, right? So now I'm saying all VMs, and the limiting collection is all systems, right? And proceed further. Now here you have an option to create a rule, right? So rule is nothing but either you can provide the computer name manually, so under the collection. So in Active Directory groups, what you'll do, you'll add the computers directly to the group, right? Similarly here also to the collection, you can add each one computer to the collection. So you can create a direct rule, and you can add all those computers to this collection, or you can write a query. For now, forget about the include and exclude collections. You will understand little later when we are going into software distribution why these are required. If you're trying to understand everything now, it would be more confusing to you. So let's go with direct rule and query rule. So direct rule, if I select, so it is asking for the name of the machine. Say suppose if I mention like the main name should be something like test percentage. I don't remember the name. It should be test percentage. So it will show you any computer which has test as the starting thing. I think it's not test percentage, it is in between we have test, right? Percentage test percentage. So it says there is one machine which is maytest01, right? Whereas you have in between you have test there. So you can select this computer and say next. So now this machine is part of this collection. As you can see here, it says maytest01 is part of the collection because you have added it directly, right? Or
That's
else,
the way of,
sorry?
yeah, Manjunath, yeah.
Yeah, Manju,
Yeah.
ask me.
So that's the way of searching that any machines using the percentage, is it? In this.
No, that is one of the ways. I'm just still explaining you. I just showed you the direct rule. There is still query rule, and there are other things. How to add the machines to the collection. This is just one of those ways.
Okay.
Okay. So one way is like either you can put like direct rule. So even in direct rule, if you know the exact machine name, you can even put the direct machine name. If you don't want to put any percentage, you can just put the direct machine name. Okay. Even that is also a direct rule. Or yeah, typically those are the two ways in direct rule. Those are the two ways. Either you give the percentage, that is a wild character, or you give the direct name. Now, say suppose you don't want to get the machine name like this. You wanted to put a query saying that any machine which is whose model is virtual machine, right? Because we have seen that hardware inventory information, right? Manufacturer model. You want to get benefit out of the hardware inventory data, wherein the data says now there is a model called virtual machine. So let's get that. So you delete here. You say add rule, query rule. So give any name to that query, any name. So I say VM is the name of the query. And here, when you say edit query statement, so So either I don't want to confuse you because you guys are not completely aware of the SQL query. So directly I'll go to the show query language. So this is what it's saying. Select star from SMS underscore R underscore system, right? This is how the query is created. I don't think you'll be in a position to write query on your own. Let me take one step back. I think this. What I'll do here, instead of writing a query, I'll click on this thing. I'll put a query here. System resource. I want the. Wait a minute. Did I select the criteria? No, right? Let me select the criteria and click the criteria. I'll say where the model under the computer system. Yes, under the computer system, the attribute is model, right? So where the model is equal to, or where the model is like virtual machine, right? So I'm selecting like under computer system where the model is equal to virtual machine. So this is my query. So now if I go to the show query language, it'll create this query. So I don't want to write this query for you. I just wanted to let the query be created on its own, right? So what I did now is it went to this G underscore system computer system, right? It will get all the information about that computer, but wherever the computer system model is equal to virtual machine, only those are added to this collection, right? So when I say okay, okay. So now because of this query, let's go next and create a collection. So I just gave a query, right? I have not added anything manually. As you can see, the member count is 0 right now. But when you update the query membership, update the membership of the collection, right? Refresh it. So now you have under VMs, you have one member. And what is that member? That is MateS01. How is this computer added to the collection? Because of the query. And what is the condition that we have put in the query? Any computer which is part of all systems, right? But whose model is equal to virtual machine. So that was the query. Guys, are you clear how we have used the hardware inventory information to create a collection? Or you want me to show it once again?
Manor, once again, can you just show?
Sure. So I'll go to all VMs, properties. So we are going to the membership rules. Let me delete this rule which I created earlier. And let me also show you when I delete it and update membership. Okay, no items found. So the computer has been deleted from this collection, right? The computer is still there under devices. You can still see that, but it is now not part of this all VMs collection. That's it. Right now what I'm doing is on all VMs, I go to properties, membership rules, add rule, I say query rule. So I just give any name to this query, VM, right? Edit query statement. And what is the criteria? How do you want to add it? The criteria is, so from first of all, if you have to tell the criteria, you should tell it from where it has to get that information. From where you know that information is under computer system, right? Even in the WMI, if you see my Windows 7 machine, I have queried computer system. If you see the SQL, I have queried computer system even here, right? That's where you know where the model information is. So you will do the same thing even in the collection as well. So in the collection, you'll say select. What is the attribute class? It is asking what is the class. The class is computer system, right? The class is computer system. So now it is asking out of this, inside this class, what is that attribute? The attribute is model. Okay, so now it says, okay, under computer system model, and what should it be equal to? So what is that I have to check? So if you know the value here, which is virtual machine, right? You can type in here virtual machine. If you know the exact value, you can type in here, or else what you can do is, if you're not sure about the exact name, how it will be, you can put what you can, instead of is equal to, you can say that is like, it is something like, because you're not sure, you can say virtual percentage. So it starts with virtual, right? Something like that you can mention, or else what you can also do is you can select is equal to, and instead of typing it, you can click on value. When you click on value, it will show all the different models that it has, right? All the different values it has for models, right? You have selected computer system model. So in the database, what are all values it has? Say suppose you have some 100 models. When you click on value, will show all the 100 models here. But in our case, since we have only virtual machine, that's the only model we have, it has given only one line item here. So you can select this. So now what is the query means? So it means that go to computer system, check the model, and if the model is equal to virtual machine, add that machine as part of this collection. So when I say OK, automatically a query is created. So if you go to show query language, so this is a query which is automatically created. You have not written this query, right? You have just selected the criteria, so automatically this query is created. Say OK, OK, apply, OK. So now if you go to the console, earlier there are no items, but if you update the collection membership and refresh the screen, May test 01 is added. You have not added it manually. You have not added this machine. You have just created a query. Say suppose there are 100 machines with the same, if the model is called virtual machine, all the 100 machines would have added here, just because you added one line, single query. Sai, is this clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. What about others? Any doubts in creating a collection?
No, no. Clear.
Cool, cool. So now you have
I
seen,
thought like
yeah, Neil.
for each and every individual asset we need to do it manually. So it's taking that query, right? VMs, and it automatically will add these collections, right?
Yes, yes. The moment you write that query, say suppose in your environment, say suppose you have 100 HP devices, and
Workstations and desktops we have. So workstation image is different and the desktop image is different.
okay.
So maybe at the time they are using these collections.
Yes, yes. They will write the collections, and while writing the collection, they will take any one common point among them. Like
Yeah.
as I said, any machine which is part of a particular OU, or any machine which is whose operating system is Windows 7, right?
Okay.
You can write
Yeah.
any kind of a query. So let me also
Okay.
show one more query just for your understanding. Let's do one more exercise, quick exercise. I'll go to properties. Let me delete this query. Membership rule. I'm deleting this query. Now apply, update membership. Make sure that this machine is removed from here. So actually you can write 100 queries at a time in the same collection. No need to delete a previous query to create one more query. But in our example, I have only one machine. So I'm deleting that query so that you understand that the new machine is getting added by virtue of the new query. Otherwise, you don't need to delete that query. Okay. So I go to properties. Now I'm creating membership rules, add rule, query. This time I want to get based on the operating system. Okay. Any machine which is Windows 7. Only those machines I want into the collection. So I say OS query. I go to edit query statement, criteria. Okay, this time it is not computer system, it is operating system, right? So I go to operating system here, operating system and attribute. So there are so many values. So the OS name will be there in caption because I worked on it. I know that it will be there under caption. So slowly, once you work, you will also understand that. That's out of experience you get it. So under operating system, the attribute name is caption, and it should be equal to, when you click on value, Windows 7 Enterprise. If in reality in production environment, when you click on value, it will show all the operating systems that you have in your environment. Right here, just I have only Windows 7 Enterprise. It is showing only one. So I'll say okay, anything which has value Windows 7 Enterprise. So now let's read the query. What is the query saying? Go to operating system class, find the value called caption, and if the value of caption is Windows 7 Enterprise, okay, add that machine to this collection. So that is how the query is structured now. I say apply, okay, update membership. So this time Maytest01 should get added because it is not virtual machine, because it is Windows 7 Enterprise machine. You refresh, you got it here. Is it clear, guys?
Can you show it once again? This
Once again, which one?
this last step.
Operating
Once
system?
again. Yeah. Rating.
Sure, I can. So let me delete this query. Okay, it's gone. Now I'm creating it upfront. Is my screen getting populated at the right time, or is there any delay?
No, that's okay. It's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to membership rules, add rule, query rule. I'm naming the query as OS, edit query statement, go to criteria. So add the new criteria, right? So the criteria here is select. In the attribute class, I'm going to operating system, okay, and the operating system caption. So these are the different values which you have under that class. So I'm selecting caption. So is equal to, if I want, I can directly give the value if I know. Say suppose if I don't know it, I'll say is like, there should be somewhere percentage Windows 7 percentage. If I'm not sure how it will look like, I can even give like this, is like percentage Windows 7 percentage. Or if I know for exact, I'll say is equal to, I'll go to values, and when you click on values, it will show all the ones which are in your database. So in my database, there is only one line item, which is Microsoft Windows 7 Enterprise. So I click this. So now the query is operating system is a class. The caption is equal to Microsoft Windows 7 Enterprise. Right, Manju? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Right. So when I say OK, so a automatic query is created. When I click on show query language, so it is showing this is the query. Say OK, OK, apply. That's it. Update membership, refresh. You have the machine there. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we have seen today till now is what is inventory, how do you collect the inventory, right? And if you want to automate it, you go to WMI and registries, and we have seen, I've explained you the SQL and WMI thing, right? And why do you need to collect inventory? For planning and other purposes, you have told it. And then uh, I've shown you how to create a collection out of that. And also reports part we'll look into once we install the reporting piece. Now I've explained about the hardware inventory, the SCM client setting, the simple schedule, and the custom schedule part, right? And we talked about how to create a collection out of the inventory information that you have. And one important thing that you have to understand here is any information which is in WMI, right? As you can see on my right side, any information which is in WMI. So this information is populated into your SQL database, right? And anything which is populated into your SQL database can be retrieved using Resource Explorer, collections, or reports. Are you clear till this part? Because now the next part that I'm going to discuss till 8 o'clock, we still have time, and the next part what I'm going to discuss is dependent on what you, if you have clearly understood all these topics. Is everybody clear with till now?
Yes, Manoj.
Okay. Manju?
Yeah.
Okay. So Sai, same thing, right? Anil dropped off.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. So now,
Coming to this collection part,
mhm.
I guess I need to work out on this. Then I'll confirm you because I'm not sure about the collection part. What you have just shown me.
Means, can you explain like what is confusing here to you in the collection part?
Not about the confusion, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure. Only with the collection part, I'm not sure. I'll work on it. I mean, I'll just install and just check if I have any queries. I'll just get back to you.
Sure, sure. Please explore the collection part. But see, theoretically, if you haven't understood something, then I would suggest you to speak up. But if it is something specific to you wanted to test it out and find it, then it's up to you.
Sure, man.
Okay, okay, fine, Sai. So proceeding further now, is any information which is available under classes, is everything captured under SQL database? Is the question here. Is anything which is in WMI, is everything being captured or not? Sai, you say yes. Is it getting captured or not?
Yeah, yeah,
It,
it will.
okay. So now let me go back to the client settings, right? So the default client settings, we go to the properties. You have hardware inventory here, right? So let me take one example from the computer system before we go to there. So here, this admin password status. Okay, there is some value here for admin password status. There is some value which says 3, right? If you go to your SQL server and according to Sai, every information should be captured. So if you go here, there is a column for admin password status, but however the value is null. It is not 3. That means Sccm, though it knows all the attributes which are there in a class, it is not collecting every information. Why is it so? So when you go to the console and go to the default settings, right, you have something called here set classes, right? When you click on the set classes, it will load all the information that it is capturing. So this all these classes it is capturing, right? Out of this, let's go to the computer system one. That is what we are currently looking into, right? So there is computer system. So when you click on computer system, see it is taking only name, current time zone, description, domain. So there are only selected items it is. So it knows that there is an admin password status thing, but it is not collecting. So that's the reason when you go to SQL database, it is showing null. It is not checked here, right? So if you see, I can also show you one more thing. Like for example, see current time zone is checked, daylight in effect is unchecked, then description, domain and domain role are checked, right? So if you go to the SQL box, where is current time zone? See current time zone is set, that's the reason it is getting that information 3:30. Daylight is not checked, that's why here it is showing as null. And after that description, domain and domain role, all three are selected. That's the reason it has pulled that information from your WMI. So even though in WMI you have a lot of information, there's no need that SCCM will capture all that information. SCCM knows that in the class there are attributes. Since it knows, it is showing you in the console. It is showing you here that I know that these values are there, but I don't think those are required. By default, I'm not collecting that information. But if you want to extend your inventory, right? If you want to get even this information, you'll select that saying that, okay, I even need admin password status, right? So currently the admin password status in the SQL database is null. However, on the client machine it is 3. So let's check this and say okay, right? I'm saying that okay, I even want admin password status to be captured. Okay. Now you made a change on the console. So what is that first thing you have to do? When will this change get applied onto the client machine? Only when the policy runs on the client machine, the machine policy, right? And after the machine policy runs, it knows that okay, I need to even collect this admin password status, right? That happens only once in 60 minutes. And once it knows that it has to collect, what it will do, it will wait for the hardware inventory cycle to run. Hardware inventory cycle will run once in 7 days. Only after 7 days, it is going to give this admin password status information by in reality. So what we'll do now is we'll speed up the things. We'll go to Mate S01, the client machine. I'll first run machine policy so that it will not wait for 60 minutes. Immediately it will know that it has to do something, right? So there is a policy change. So it will understand that there is a policy change. Now let me give some 10 seconds so that it will understand there is a change. And after that, say suppose I go here and I run the hardware inventory cycle. Okay. Now if I go to the database, it will take a little bit of time. So let's execute and refresh this part. It will take time for the hardware inventory to run and send the information back to the management point, and the management point has to write it to the database, right? See, now the admin password status value is 3. Guys, you are able to see that?
Can you can you re-show it once again?
Re-show it how?
This thing, what are the steps you done for this?
Yeah, but the value has been now captured already, buddy. So
Okay.
what is confusing here? So when I
Not
told the
con-
first time, yeah.
Yeah, just I could not able to follow up. I didn't follow all the steps, so I missed some
So hence my
direct
question.
practice.
Are you seeing a delay in the video, or when I'm
No, no, nothing like saying something concentrating and just messed up.
okay. So I don't think I can reproduce the same thing because the value has been already captured, but I'll just show you what I've done. So what I've done here is I went to the default client settings properties, right? Then under the hardware inventory, set classes. So by default, you under the computer system, earlier the admin password status was not checked. So what I did, I've checked the admin password status, right guys? So once I've checked the admin password status, now this is a policy which is created. So any change that you do in SCM console, I've explained to you earlier as well, like any change that you do in SCM console, a policy is created. Now the policy is targeted where? It is targeted to the client machine. But how will the client machine know that a policy is changed for it? That it has to even collect admin password status information. How does the Windows 7 machine will know? It will know only after 60 minutes, because after every 60 minutes it will talk to management point, right? So to speed up that, what I did, I went to the client machine and I went to this client machine, to the client configuration manager properties. I clicked machine policy. So when I clicked machine policy, what happened? So it talked to the management point, and management point told, okay, there's a policy for you. Okay, it opened the policy and it found that, okay, as per the policy, I have to now collect admin password status also as part of hardware inventory. Every time when I'm sending hardware inventory, I should also send admin password status information to the server. So it got that information. But when will that apply? It will get applied only when the next hardware inventory cycle will run, right? So what I did, after applying machine policy, I waited for some 10-15 seconds and I ran hardware inventory cycle. So when I ran hardware inventory cycle, now since it knows that it has to even collect admin password status from its WMI, the value is already there in its own WMI, right? On the client machine WMI, you have the value called admin password status is equal to 3. So hardware inventory, this time what it did, it went to its WMI, it pulled that data, admin password status 3, it took that value to the management point, and management point has written that admin password status value into the database. That's the reason now when I refresh the database, I can see admin password status as 3. Earlier this value was null. Is it clear, Manju?
Yeah, what it meant? Three.
Buddy, see, the 3 value, it could be 3 or 5 or 10. That's not the point here. The point here is how we are capturing a particular value to database. What is the process we are following here to capture data from WMI to SQL? That's the point here. See,
No, actually,
go ahead.
actually the value is captured. So that you said that it cannot do it once again. So thought to ask what is actually value meant.
No. See, the value could be anything, buddy. See, here it can be 3 or 5 or anything. So what I meant here is initially it was null. So I wanted to show you like how the null value has changed into 3, why it was not collecting that information earlier, and why it is collecting now. So what are the changes that we have done and what is the process in the background, how you are able to collect that information to SCM database. That's the whole point of explaining this process. It can be 3 or it can be some other number, right? It can be even any other attribute, not only admin password. It can be any other attribute which is null here, right? So tomorrow if you select any other values there, so see, try to understand the bigger scope here. So tomorrow when you're working in your organization and in your company, they will ask you, can you get us as part of your SCM report, can you get us admin password status value? Say suppose if that's the scenario that you're faced. So by default, if you go to your inventory, if you go to your database, you will not be able to find that information because your SCCM is not pulling that information. So when such a challenge is given to you, I'm explaining you how you will be expanding the inventory data. So you will not go with the default inventory data. If you want to expand the inventory data, you go to your client settings. Now you select additional data that has to be captured. That's how you get this all this data into the database. I've explained the process how you will be taking up this challenge and expand your inventory for any other information, not just the default information given by your given by SCM. If you want to expand it, this is how you do it, right? So tomorrow it can be something else. If not this, it can be something else. Are you getting my point?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, others, Amar and Sai, is this part clear?
Yes, Manoj.
See,
Yes, Manav.
so for everyone's understanding, see, I'm ready to explain multiple times to you, and definitely I'm open for that. But try to understand the core of the subject. What I'm trying to explain. Try to understand the core of it, and if you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. But my point here is, uh, whenever you are going through the process, okay, put your 100% attention here, focus here when we are going through the different slides, different wizard screens, and try to understand the broader perspective why we are learning this particular piece, right? So that way it will be helpful for everyone. So this is I'm just telling this
No,
for
like
everyone.
yeah, actually, when you started opening the options, no,
Hmm.
going under classes, so that itself is huge. So I got confused there. So many things are there. Why, like what all the things. So there it is become just more for me. Then I messed up from there. Could not able to understand because I was thinking for that, so I didn't follow up the next.
It's okay, Manju. It's okay. It's okay. So it's not about this. I'm just telling you in a broader perspective, not only just for this class. In a broader perspective, every time when we are discussing something, try to understand like what is the intent behind a particular exercise that we are doing. And I'm not telling just to Manju. I'm telling to Amar, Anil, and Sai, everyone that when I'm explaining something, try to understand the broader perspective why we are doing a particular exercise. So that way, it will help you to understand the subject much faster. That's just a suggestion that I'm giving here. Okay. Don't take me wrong. So let's proceed further. Anil, I got yes, Amar.
I just have a query, but I know it's not possible. Just wanted to reconfirm that.
Sure,
See,
sure.
we are updating the policy from the client machine, right? Is there a possibility we can refresh it from remote site or anything?
Yes, yes.
Because
So
time, this is one machine, so we have taken the control and we can do it,
mhm.
refresh it. But for 10,000 devices or 1 lakh devices, how that can be?
Yes, yes.
Should we have to wait till 60 till its time is for refresh, or can we do it remotely?
Yep, yep. Got your question. So there are two things. One is like there are there are third-party tools which we call as right-click tools. So you can download those tools, the right-click tools. So when you install the right-click tools on your server site, so where you have SCCM console, if you install the right-click tools, so what will happen? The moment you click on the client computer, it will give you additional options to start machine policy, start user policy, or the hardware inventory cycle. So all these different cycles that you can start, you'll get that when you right click on a particular collection, not only just device, you can just right click on a collection of all 5,000 machines you have, you can right click on the collection as well, right? So that is always there. But so that's one part of it. So you have a third-party tool called right click tools, and you have another third-party tool called CAT, client actions tool. You can download that from internet, client actions tool, CAT, CAT. So when you download that tool, you can give a list of a Excel sheet or a CSV with all the computer names. Okay, it will load all the computer names. Then you can say that, okay, go ahead and run machine policy on all of them, or run hardware inventory on all of them. So you can even do that. Okay, so there are third-party tools which are available, not from the SCM. However, the second part to this is that is not advisable. That is not advised because, see, by default, you have this seven once in running in once in 7 days, and then you have your the polling schedule to run once in 60 minutes, right? So those settings are already there, and in your organization, if you think that you need to get this information in a more aggressive way, like you cannot wait for 60 minutes or that, so that will be very case-to-case scenarios, right? Only in those case-to-case scenarios, what you can do is you can create a separate custom default client setting and change that 60 minutes to 5 minutes or 2 minutes and run on a specific collection to get that information. You cannot always expect to get all the data so frequently, like less than 60 minutes, less than 5 minutes, I want to get more the data for at all the times. If that is the motto with which your customer is driving, then you need to suggest your customer that that is not advised, because it will definitely impact the performance of SCM. That's the reason the entire SCM cycles are set like to run once in 60 minutes and once in 7 days, right? Only for case by case he can create a custom client setting and make it like 5 minutes. Otherwise he has to wait for that 7 days. He can even use the right click tools, but it is going to impact his performance. You're getting my point, Amar?
I got it. Thanks, Mohan.
Perfect, perfect. So actually, I wanted to explain about one more part, but somehow it got delayed today. I was not able to cover it, but let me just start with. So now you know how to get information from client machine's WMI, and how to get that information into SQL, and how to get that into collections, or tomorrow you will also learn, a little later you will also learn how to get that information into reports. Fine. Now in this entire process, um, if you wanted additional information, right? So now you know, if you want additional informations, you go to client settings, you say set classes, and you give that additional information there, right, buddy? So that also we know if any additional information is required. Now I'll put a different question to you. I think you're all working on your different environments where you have a standard image, right? If you have a Windows 7 or Windows 10 or Windows 8, you must be having a standard corporate image. Do you have that? A standard corporate
Yes,
image?
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
we are.
And do you have just one image or multiple images?
I'm not sure about.
So there will be typically what will happen, there will be multiple images, because say suppose if you have 32-bit devices, for 32-bit devices you have a 32-bit image, for 64-bit devices you have a 64-bit image. For certain project people still need to use Windows 7 devices, so they will have Windows 7 images, right? For other project they require Windows 10, they will have Windows 10 images. Like that you might be having multiple images, right? Amma, you want to say something?
No, no, that's right. In fact, with certain standard applications also we have images.
True, true. So sometimes what will happen based on applications, so is some standard set, as he said, like a particular department requires some 10 applications, or those are core applications for them. So we'll have a separate image for them, and a different department requires a different set of applications. You might even create a different image for them, right? So like that, what will happen? Different images will be there in a corporate world, right? Now, when they create an image, they will also create certain registry files. Okay, to just anybody can understand, like, okay, this image is created on so and so date, and this is the build information, right? And this is the latest update. This is when this image is installed on this machine. Like that, they'll put some information in the registry, right? So that tomorrow if anybody wants to look into and identify, like, what is the image, what is this image which is running on a client machine, you can go to that registry. It will tell you that, okay, this machine is a Windows 7 machine, however this has been built specifically for IT department. okay, and this has been built on so and so date. So such kind of information will be made available when we are creating an image. Okay, so why I'm giving you this example is this information, okay, this is just an example. Okay, so this kind of an information what we are having in registry, okay, that is a very custom information, very customized to a very particular company, right? So this by default will not be there in WMI, and by default such kind of information will not be pulled by SCCM. Is it clear? I have given a very customized example, like you have images in your environment. For that images, there is a registry value which is telling you whether what version of image you are using or for which department it has been built. So this is something which is very customized to a customer or a client, which will not be there. This kind of information will not be there in your WMI, and by default SCM will not pull this information, right? Now, if in your environment your management asks you to create an SCM report, to pull a SCM report, to telling them that how many machines have image 1, how many machines have image 2, how many machines have image 3. Like image 1 is for IT department, image 2 is for HR department, image 3 is for finance department. So they'll ask you like how many machines which has finance image, how many machines are there which has Windows 10 HR image, like that. So how are you going to pull this information? By default, it will not be there in inventory. It is not there in WMI. So such kind of additional requirements which are not even there in inventory, okay, how are you going to put that? So that's what I wanted to explain you. That is called custom inventory. You're getting my example. Did you get my point here, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So how is it different from this, the earlier example? So the earlier example we had the set classes, right? How is it different from this information? Why can't we get that information from here? See, when you click this computer system here, it already knew that these are the values which are available in WMI. So what I did was I just selected one more value to it, saying that okay, I also need this information, I also need this information. So this is already available in WMI, which I'm trying to pull from SCCM, right? But whereas the current example that I gave, that information is not there in your WMI anywhere because it is a very custom scenario. So that information is not there in WMI. Then what we need to do is we need to create one more class here, new class here, right? Which will have that information, and then you need to check that box to get that into SCM database. So first of all, that new class should be created inside this hardware inventory classes thing, right? Just like you have write filter, Windows Update, Windows 8 application, you have to have one more thing which says that OS build information, right? You need to create new class and then you have to get that information. So creating a new class in hardware inventory thing and getting that report. So that itself is a exercise of some 30 minutes of exercise is there. So if you guys are up, because now it is 8 o'clock, right? So if you guys are ready, so I can take another 30 minutes and explain you how to extend your hardware inventory to get additional information. That will be the end of hardware inventory, right? Hardware inventory, uh, getting the default values, then extending it by checking few boxes here, and now entirely creating a new box here. So that finishes the hardware inventory. So this is the third part, which is a complex scenario, which will be there only in when a normal L2 guy, SCM administrator, or somebody who just have a theoretical class experience will never know this, because you go to any other SCM training, you will not get this kind of information, even in the TechNet articles. So this is something a real-time scenario what I'm explaining here to you. This will definitely help you in your career. So if you want, I can extend, if you're ready for 30 minutes extension, I can do it today, or else never mind, I will tell this in tomorrow's class.
I'm fine.
So
I'm fine.
Amar is ready. Manju and Sai,
Uh,
feel free. If you have your office timings, feel free.
Tomorrow would be better. Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
tomorrow would be better.
Fine, Sai. Fine, fine. I understand that. So because I don't wanted to just record this session and send it across to you, I want you to understand. So tomorrow I'll take it at tomorrow morning 6 o'clock. We'll understand about custom inventory, how to create new classes and how to get that information. Clear, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So my suggestion once again, please create the lab, okay, and try to test all the things which we are discussing. So it's already getting late. We already covered the initial steps, right? Creating collections, and now we are getting into inventory. Slowly we move into distribution and other things. So I think by the time you should have your environment ready. So please create your environment as early as possible so that you can try all these in your lab and come up with much more questions. Okay. Take care, guys.
Manohar,
Who is
Manohar,
this?
Manjunath here.
Yeah, Manju.
So maybe you can stop this recording. It's related to the
Okay, I'm stopping the recording.
which I was telling.